Hey everybody, this is Dustin Limegruber, aka Pastor Dustin, and I'm submitting this article for mtgfanatic.com. If you guys have been with this website for a long time, and I do mean long time, you might actually remember me as the first paid contributing author that's ever on the site. Well over a decade ago, I was back in college, and decided to try to write for the site, and you guys took me on for a little while, so I wrote for a couple of years. But then after that I've been kind of in and out of Magic, and some of you guys might know this. Just depending on the kind of community that's around you, sometimes you can play and sometimes you can't. So I've been in and out since Revised, and now is one of the times that I'm in. And one of the reasons for that is that I've got a good local shop. If anybody out there from Estes is listening, hey guys. But I'm also here on Moto now, and I had been stalking Moto for a long time. I actually beta tested it when it first came out, and I really liked it, but I always thought, this is just going to be too expensive for me. I like to watch all these 8.4 videos, but the guys are plunking out a lot of money, especially for some, digital cards. If I can't hold it in my hand, I like it a little bit less. So I thought, I'm just not the kind of guy that can afford to play Moto. But that's when I saw somebody had the $10 challenge, and I looked into it. And it's, if you get just a regular account, it costs you $10, and you get 5 tickets along with 20 new player points. And you can spend 1 ticket and 2 new player points to do a 4-man draft. That's right here, new player M14 draft or new player sealed. And so really for 1 ticket and 2 of these things, it costs you like $1.50 per draft. And I thought, well, you know what, I'm good enough to try this out, and if I'm not, if I just completely scrub out, I've lost like $10. And so I started doing this, and it did well enough to where I started to build up a bankroll, and I went from all these new player drafts to, Swiss drafts to even 8.4s, and now I'm like 50 drafts in, and I haven't had to invest any more than my initial thing. So I'm doing pretty well on it. So I wanted to start writing some strategy articles for other guys like me that maybe they were interested in doing Moto, they wanted to get into it, or maybe they're not really interested in Moto, but they just enjoy watching draft strategy. So I'm going to enter into this. See, there's 1 event ticket, new player points. This draft right here. And if you guys like this, I want you to tell Chris and everybody else at the website that you like this and you'd like me to start submitting more. And if you'd like me to do other things, do you want more new player drafts? Do you want 8.4s? Do you want standard? Do you want, constructed? Do you want limited? Whatever it is, just answer in the comment section what it is that you're interested in, and if you'd like me to stay here and to contribute to the site with all these video articles. So I'll hit the pause button right down here in the corner so you guys don't have to wait for this to fill up, and I will see you in the draft. And here we go, we're at the beginning of the draft. Some things to know about the new player drafts: it's only 4 people, so the packs spin a lot more than a regular 8-person draft, and it's phantom, so you don't actually get to keep any of the cards. So if you see a Mutavault spinning around, that's because you don't actually get to take it back with you. The winner of this gets to take home a pack, but none of the cards. So we start things off here with a Genie's Chosen, which might be my pick. I've never been able to play with it before. Last draft I was in, I did beat the deck that had it, but it was pretty strong. Even just the 4 mana for a 3/3 is good, and if you happen to have enchantments going on, then it's something that I might like to do. However, I think the Blightcaster is going to be stronger. It also goes with enchantments, so if a Genie's Chosen comes back around, I'm probably... Oh, 2 Blightcasters? Awesome. Okay, so if Genie's Chosen comes back around, I will do a black-white enchantment deck. But the reason Blightcaster is so good is because you can go for the black-blue deck that has a lot of enchantments anyway that function as removal. So you can get some pretty nice 2-for-1s off of a Blightcaster. The body is okay. The power level in M14 is fairly low, so 4 mana for a 2/3 occasionally just cuts it to kind of gum up the ground. Other notable cards in this pack: we've got Rumbling Baloth, excellent for the green deck. Generally you want to be green-blue or green-red. We've also got Giant Spider and Advocate of the Beast, and so green is pretty well stacked here. It's also got Voracious Worm, for those that might want to do the green-white life gain deck. Warden is a pretty strong card. Just by itself, even 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer is good. Dawnstrike Paladin, that's not something you want to pick up in the first spin around, but it can certainly make the deck. And then Ultra's Reap is also a very strong card. There's a black-red sacrifice deck that is the 2nd best deck in the format, second only to mono-black. But for now I'm thrilled to pick up a 2nd Blightcaster in a row. And now that I've said the black-red deck, Active Treason is here. And this is the key card for the black-red deck. You have a lot of sacrifice outlets, and use Active Treason to steal whatever their threat is, and then sacrifice it for yourself. This may be the pick here because there's very little else in here. Duress is a fine card, but it's not near the power level of Active Treason. Ring Flesh is also okay in sticks and colors. And if I wanted to try to go black-green, which is a viable color combination, you can always pick up the Giant Growth, Brindle Boar, or Ground Shaker. Ground Shaker's kind of a sketchy card. 7 mana. You don't get there as often as you might think. So for now, I'm going to pick up Active Treason and see if I might be being led into the Black-Red Sacrifice deck. Well, as far as Black-Red goes, this stack is doing pretty well. It's got Corrupt, which is not as good as you would think, especially if you're not in mono-black. Marauding Maulhorn, which will probably be the pick here, just because 4 mana for 5 toughness is awesome. Corpse Hauler is very efficient, and Lightning Talons is okay, especially in Black-Red, where the other decks aren't going to have as much removal to go around. I think I am going to go with Marauding Maulhorn for now, hoping to pick up Corpse Hauler, Corrupt, or Lightning Talons on the way back. So we are currently Black-Red, and there's another Active Treason. Alright, so 2 Active Treasons is enough for me to try to go for this deck. Other things that would compete here, Firecat is very strong. If I was going to go for Black-Blue, which is where the Blightcasters really shine, you get Sensory Deprivation, which triggers the enchantment. Also got Messenger Drake, which goes well in that deck. But for now, I'm just happy to pick up an Active Treason and either see a cat or a Minotaur spin back around. So now it looks like we're going for the Black-Red Sack deck. There's an Advocate of the Beast here, which I know I'm going to have to face down because I'm not going to hate draft it, because there's an Altar's Reap in the pack. And Altar's Reap is excellent because it requires sacrificing a creature. So if you've got 5 mana, you Active Treason their best creature, you whack them in the face with it, and then you Altar's Reap it. And so you get 2 cards back. So you keep the same amount of cards, you get to whack them with their best creature and kill it. So I'm going to pick up Altar's Reap. And coming back around, there's not a whole lot for anybody here. I think it's really either a Duress or a Ring Flesh. I think that the Duress generally gets picked up quicker, so I'll probably get another shot at a Ring Flesh if I really need one, so I'll be happy to pick up the Duress. Okay, coming back around, I get a shot at a Corrupt, and nothing else in my colors. There is a Staff here, but the staves are awful. There's never a correct time to play a staff. Ever. So I'll get the Corrupt. What else comes around? So I've got a Firecat or Abomination. Firecat is, let's see, 3 cheaper than the Abomination, which is definitely worth it. So I'll pick up the Firecat. Here I've run out of picks that fit directly into my deck. I will pick up the Sliver Construct, just on the off chance that I need it for the sideboard. If I have guys that have Fear, it's good to keep the Sliver Construct out of the pool. Here there are absolutely no good cards. Foil Mountain is actually the best card, so I'm going to pick that one. The mill deck is very bad. Don't try to build the mill deck if you're new to this. It might be fun, but it is not good. So that's why I didn't pick up the Tome Scour. The other 2 choices were Staves, and I would rather have somebody else pick one of those up. And here I think between Suntail Hawk and Pay No Heed, I think I'd probably actually prefer the Pay No Heed get out of the pool, just because I'll probably end up picking up some direct removal later. Minotaur Abomination. It's usually a 23rd card if I play it, but once it gets out, it's actually quite a force to be reckoned with. So I'm going to hide this, and we're going to move from Color Sort to Cost Sort, so we can see that my 3-drop spot is starting to fill up pretty well. I've got some decent 4-drops. I'm missing the early ones. Missing also a whole lot here between 4 and 6. There's nothing in the 5 realm. The Plains. Okay, we get a new pack here, and we get an awesome card in our colors. Ogre Battle Driver is an absolute bomb. I once won a game with an Ogre Battle Driver and, I forget what it's called, Spark Mage or something like that. It costs 2, it's a 2-1. Whenever you play an instant or sorcery, you get a 1-1. So I had this guy out, and the other one on the table. Shocked twice to make 2 tokens that turned into 3-1 hasters to win the game. It was pretty epic. So I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to deeply miss this Bubbling Cauldron, because it sacrifices things all the time, so it's a constant sack outlet, and it can gain you 4 life, or if you're fortunate enough to pick up some Festering Newts, it can be a drain life for 4, which is even nicer. So that one I'm sad to see go. Sad to see Liturgy of Blood go, and Altar's Reap. Diabolic Tutor can be okay depending. I'm not really too torn up about either of these red cards. The Molten Birth can be okay if you just have a lot of things that benefit from sacking stuff, because the token's just service fodder. But I'm happy to pick up this Ogre Battle Driver, and if I can get one of these three on the way back around, I'll be fine. So, Battle Driver it is. There is another Act of Treason, so I will snap that up without thinking too much about it. I do miss the Chandra's Outrage. What else? Deathgate's Cockatrice is good. And here maybe even Dark Favor. Normally it's not a very good card, but because I have the Blightcasters, anything that says Aura on it is automatically better. But there's no better card for the Black-Red Sacrifice deck than Act of Treason, so I'll pick that one up. Now up to 3 of those. Okay, as far as Black-Red goes, there's really no competition in this pack. Got Marauding Maulhorn. Do have to remember that there's Brave the Elements, which is an excellent card. You should main deck this one if you happen to be in white, which is the worst color that there is in M14, which is why I didn't go for the rare in the first pack. White also gets hooked up with Wall of Swords. If this comes back around to me, I'm probably just going to hate draft something. There's nothing in here that I'm that excited about other than the Maulhorn. Okay, so here, an Ultra's Reap or a Gnawing Zombie. Gnawing Zombie is good in this deck, but I would still rather have the second Ultra's Reap. It's nice because it slows him down with a 3 toughness, and it's also a regular sacrifice outlet. It gives you a little bit of reach late in the game. If you've got him down to 3 or something like that, you can just send your team at them. But for now, I'll be happy to pick up a second Ultra's Reap. Alright, there's a third Ultra's Reap, which I will not be picking because there's a Bubbling Cauldron, and that is a good recursive source of sacking things. So I'm going to pick that up over the Liturgy of Blood, which I'm a little remiss to do. But in the Sacrifice deck, you do need to make sure that you have plenty of Sacrifice outlets. So that gets first priority. Here we go over to the Deathgaze Cockatrice. We're loading up pretty high here in the 3 and 4 drop slot, so I really would like to finish out my curve a little bit, but I don't know that I have that much of a choice. Okay, so here I might be hate drafting something. I might pick up another Sliver Construct. I'd have to be pretty desperate to get the Flesh Pulper Giant. That's 7 mana is an awful lot to kill a dork and have a 4/4. So I think in this situation, I'm just going to take the Sliver Construct. Okay, so here I have a choice between a Dark Favor and a Gnawing Zombie. I'll take the Sack Outlet over the Dark Favor. Also, Dark Favors tend to spin pretty late. We are going to have to take a good look. Oh man, Liturgy's still here? Awesome. And the Altar's Reap. So this is going to be sweet. I'm going to pick up the Liturgy because I do already have 2 Altar's Reap. I also have a Gnawing Zombie and a Bubbling Cauldron. So I'll be picking those sack outlets less often than I would usually get them just because it's so heavy right now. We're getting to the end of the second pack. We've got 21 out of the 23 cards that I'm going to want in this deck. And so really at this point, instead of just drafting more cards that I'll cut, I'll be looking more towards hate drafting. So right now I'm going to take this Wall of Swords, because if I do steal it, it's not something I can whack him with. So steal a Wall of Swords. Here I think Vile Rebirth is the best pick. This is a good sideboard versus any kind of Gravedigger effect. Here I'll get yet another Altar's Reap, and I'm already up to my 23 cards. So at this point I am drafting to improve. So trying to draft things... that's a sideboard card. If somebody's got excellent equipment, or just a whole bunch of it, you can put that in there. But I'm trying to replace some Sliver Constructs, Minotaur Abomination, maybe Blightcasters, just because I don't really have the enchantments to go with that. Black-Red is not generally known for its enchantments. So those might sadly be something that I would cut. Ah, Necromancer, huh? Well, these are humans and they go with the Necromancer. So I've been fairly fortunate here, picking up some good bombs at the rare slot. I don't see anything that would really compete with it. Shrivel's a sideboard card at best. Ring Flash is often on the cusp. The only other thing here is Blur Sliver, which I am not picking up over the Necromancer. So the Necromancer turns humans into zombies, and sometimes you can even sack the human if you need a sack effect in this deck. Let's see, how many humans do I have? Got those 2. That's an Ogre Warrior. Yeah, so not as many humans, but it's still fine by itself. Here I'm happy to pick up Chandra's Outrage. I don't have as much removal as I would usually like to have, so I'll pick that up. Other than that, got Dismiss into Dreams for the Dismiss into Dreams deck. If you've got something that can automatically target something, this just turns into a machine gun. But here out of this pack, for what I'm looking to draft, I definitely am going to pick up the removal. Got Sangir Vampire over here, which is awesome. The Zephyr Charge is what you want to pick up if you have the Dismiss into Dreams deck, because you can use it to give your opponent's creatures flying, so it just turns into, the blue Doomblade, or if you've been playing as long as I have, the blue Terror. Here out of this pack, it's between Sangir Vampire and Blood Baron. Blood Baron being another recursive sack effect, but I've got enough of those for right now, so I'm going to pick up the Stronger Overall card and get Sangir. Okay, here I see, I think the only Newt that I've seen so far, and the Newt goes really well with the Bubbling Cauldron, because you can use it for a Drain Life. So I'll pick up the Newt, unless there's anything better, which there is not. Also helps to bring my curve down a little bit if I play that Newt. Already up to 27, so I'll probably start weeding some of this out. There's really nothing for me here in black or red, and because of that, I am going to hit out one of these amazing green cards. And whoever's green is going to get hooked up. Giant Spider, Predatory Sliver, Rumbling Baloth. I think Rumbling Baloth is probably the overall strongest card, so I will hate out a Rumbling Baloth from the pool. Okay, we come back around. There's still nothing black or red that I want. This isn't really a Seismic Stomp kind of deck, so before I get anything else, I will hate out an Essence Scatter. Like that. There's a Blood Baron still in this pack, which is easily the pick for me. Let's see. Duress isn't going to make the main board. Bio Rebirth is not. Rain Flesh probably won't. Let's see, we're back down to 25. What else needs to go here? We've only got... actually, we have 15 creatures, which is pretty high for this style of deck. Okay, here, there's nothing that amazing. Got the Ingot if I wanted some mana fixing, which I don't think that I do. So I'll let that Ingot spin and just try to take out the Giant Spider. Take him out. I'll leave that Giant Spider for somebody else and take out an Advocate of the Beast. It's almost like I could side into a green deck. These cards just keep spinning. Let's see. I suppose I'll take Seismic Stomp just in case it's useful. Probably won't be. We're at 23, so this is looking like our deck at the moment. A Brindleboar and a Quarter Shield. I don't know if anything really wants to wear the Quarter Shield that much. I suppose it could be pretty good on the Firecat. At the very least, I'll take it so nobody else does. Take the Ingot just in case I want mana fixing. Pay No Heed is a much better card than Blessing. And the thing that attacks and blocks. Okay, so we are roughly looking at our deck here. The next step will show you guys how I do deck building. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get all of the must-have picks, and I'll put them down here. I'll put all of the creatures up here on the top by curve, and then all of the non-creature spells down here. This is something that might help you when you're doing your own, whether or not it's online or in Paper Magic. Alright, so we're starting off here with all of my absolute must-have picks. Up here we've got Festering Newt, which goes really well with Bubbling Cauldron. So my deck's a little heavy on the curve, so I just wanted to have something that I could get out sooner for defensive measures. Here you have all of the 2-drop sacrifice outlets. This one is nice because it gives you the Drain Life for 1, as well as it's got the 3 toughness. It's not as good because it costs 2 to sack, and so it can be a little mana intensive. Get the Ultra's Reaps, 3 of them, so that's my card drawing engine, as well as Bubbling Cauldron, the recursive one, which can gain you life. Up here in the 3-drop slot, I've got Blood Baron, which is nice because it can sacrifice something and give it +2/+2. It doesn't require any mana. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things that can act as a sacrifice outlet, so that's going to be plenty. If I don't draw into a sack outlet, it's just going to be a weird shuffle. Firecat is just a good overall creature, especially if you can manage to clear the board out a little bit. Also, it doesn't just have to be an attacker, it can block pretty much anything it wants to. It can only do it once, but it can take it down. The Necromancer is just an overall solid card. You'll notice that this is not really a human's deck, but You get 2 sacks out of it if you need sacrifice effects. It draws all different kinds of removal because it's usually much better than it is in my deck, so I'm happy to pay 3 mana for it. We've got the 3 active treasons down here, which are obligatory. This is the reason the deck is so good. Deathgaze Cockatrice hits him for 2 in the air, as well as takes down anything. The death touch is nice. Got Marauding Mulhorn. This is the real muscle in the deck, that 5 power, which is why I'm going to end up putting the Quarter Shield in. So I'll put that over here down in the 3-drop slot. But if your Mulhorn has an additional 3 toughness, 5/6 coming in every turn is much harder to take down than a 5/3, and giving it vigilance is nice. It's hard to attack through a 5/6, so that's definitely going to make the cut. Ogre Battle Driver makes any of these cards good. You know, if it's late in the game and you have all of your sacrifice outlets, and all of a sudden you draw a Gnawing Zombie, a 1/3 is terrible, but a 3/3 with haste isn't always that bad. And so even one of the worst cards in your deck can turn into a big deal. Or you can have a hasty 6/4 flyer. So this thing is just amazing all around. Chandra's Outrage is nice efficient removal. Deals 4 damage to a target creature, which is enough to take down the large majority of the things in this set, and it gives you 2 as a bonus. If this sort of thing is coming at you, then you sack the creature that's going to die in response, so you don't have to take the 2. Got more solid removal, and just an overall good card. So we do have 3 spots left. I'm not wild about these Blightcasters because I'm not running any enchantments whatsoever. So I think the Blightcasters are actually going to sit on the sideline. They're usually amazing. Yeah, they were first and second pick. But for now, I'm just going to leave them back. They are humans, which means that they're not terrible. But without the enchantments, it's just not there. So I've got Corrupt. And let's see. Let's do a quick... Okay, it's a 10 and 10. So I've got about, probably about maybe a Drain Life for 3 on average if you're casting this at the 6, which is okay. I think it's good enough to make the cut here. So go ahead and put the Corrupt in. We need 2 more cards. So if I've got 2 more cards, I might play the Minotaur Abomination, since we don't have a whole lot at the very top of our curve. I'll definitely play a Duress. It's not something that I'm dying to main deck, but it hits things on a majority of occasions, and especially if you can get off on a first turn, then you get nice, complete information. And other than that, I think I'll just get some mana fixing in. So I've got 10 creatures, which is a little low. We're leaving a big beefy one up there. We're leaving some cards that are usually pretty good. A subpar removal spell, and some vanilla 2/2s in the board, so I think that's fine. Now we're going to add some land. Get the suggestion here. It wants to prioritize swamps by 1. So let's see. This deck doesn't do a whole lot of aggressive things up until the 3rd turn, so these black symbols we can ignore for the beginning and prioritize the red a little bit more. With the Active Treason, this doesn't really get played 3rd turn. It's a later one as well, so I think that this split is actually okay. We don't get into a whole lot of business until late, so I'm going to keep this recommendation. Get those lands in there. Alright, inserted them right down there. That's our 40 cards. I'm going to submit this deck, and I will see you guys in round 1.